The 12 Months. An awful woman lived with her daughter and stepdaughter in her household. She possessed feelings of hate for her stepdaughter Anna. Anna worked while her stepsister did nothing. On a cold January night, Anna's stepmother remarked, "Your stepsister desires flowers. Go and find some." Anna wasn't anxious to walk through the chilled landscape. The cold air made her lungs burn. She walked at a slow pace because of the snow. Soon she saw a group of people. It consisted of 12 men. Anna told them about the flowers. One of the men said they were the 12 months and that they would help Anna. January walked to her and made a motion with his hand. The days of the month passed rapidly until it was February's turn. February also made the month speed up. Then March made the sun shine, and flowers grew in the field. Anna loaded her basket with so many flowers that she could hardly lift it. Then she gave a quick but polite thank you to the 12 men and returned home. She was very eager to show her stepmother all the flowers. Back at the house, she spilled the flowers onto the table. Then she told her stepmother about the 12 men. Anna's stepmother and stepsister went to seek the 12 months. Their intent was to ask for gifts. They looked and looked. They became very lost and never found their way home. Anna lived happily by herself.
The Dragon. An evil dragon lived in a castle in the remote southern mountains. One day the monster landed in a town. The dragon commanded the people, "Give me food now, or I will eat you." The dragon lifted its wings so that its lungs could be completely filled with hot steam, and breathed it upon the people. A man turned into a stone statue. The people submitted and brought food. The dragon ate all of it and left. The people sent a boy to ask for help from a wise old man. He resided in a temple. The boy told the old man about the dragon. Then the old man counseled the boy, "A meteor will fall in the northern sky. It will make a huge explosion. Find the meteor and bring it to me. I will use it to make a sword for you." The boy did as the old man said. Soon, the sword was ready. "Use this to kill the dragon, but be careful. You must cover yourself with weeds that smell bad. That will ensure that he does not smell you," the man said. The boy traveled for many days to find the castle. He went to the upper level and opened a door. He could see the dragon's tail. It was sleeping, so the boy killed it. Then he took the dragon's gold and jewelry and returned to his town. The people were happy.
The Battle of Thermopylae. This is a true story. It happened long ago in Greece. "We must fight," the Spartan chief told his small army of brave men. They were at a great disadvantage. There were only 300 of them. The Persian military had hundreds of thousands of men. They were going to lose unless they could secure a small entrance. The enemy couldn't move through it easily. They intended to stop the enemy here. The chief and his men got ready for the battle. Soon, long lines of the enemy's army twisted around the hills. The chief met the enemy with laughter. He knew that his men's weapons and skills were better. The Spartans trusted their leader and obeyed him. First, the enemy soldiers shot arrows from their bows. The chief told his men to lift their shields. The arrows stuck into the shields but did not hurt any of the men. Then the enemy's soldiers attacked the Spartans with long spears. The chief surprised them. His troops rolled logs down on the enemy. They fought for 3 days. Though they hardly slept at all, the chief and his men remained steady. But the enemy found a way to beat the Spartans. The chief and all of his men were killed. Even though they lost, the Battle of Thermopylae is one of the most famous battles in history.
The deer and his image. A deer told himself every day, "I am the most handsome deer in the forest. My large chest is a symbol of my power, and my beautiful horns impress other animals." But he did not like his legs and hooves. "My legs are narrow, and my hooves are ugly. They do not satisfy me." One day, the deer saw a big dog. The deer made some noise and disturbed the dog. The dog woke up and chased him. The deer felt terror. He screamed. He did not want to be a victim, so he ran into the forest. His strong legs helped him run fast. His pale brown hooves were hard, so they were not sensitive to rough rocks. However, his horns got caught in branches, slowing him down. His large chest could not fit between thick trees. The deer estimated that he ran for an hour. He felt like he was running a marathon. In the end, the deer escaped the threat of the dog. He sat in the shade of a tree. That was almost a disaster. I almost did not escape because of my chest and horns. My legs and hooves saved me. As a consequence, the deer learned to honor his fast legs and have confidence in his strong hooves. Pretty things only supplement important things, he thought.
May 29, 1953. Today is the most important day of my life. I finally climbed Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. The top of the mountain was amazing. It felt like we were close to heaven. The snow was so thick that my boots sank. The air was silent. I looked at the beauty that surrounded me. Maybe my story will be a legend someday. I want people to remember this forever. I was the senior explorer in my group, and I knew we needed proof of our climb. I took many pictures with my camera. I'll put them in a frame and hang them. On the mountain, the air was very cold. I wrapped my coat around my body. I looked over the side of the mountaintop. From that angle, I saw the border of the clouds touch the rocks below. The snow was thick. It looked pure. There was no sign of modern life. Thousands of years ago, my ancestors saw the world this way. After 15 minutes, I knew it was time to proceed down the mountain. The whole team congratulated us. My superior, John Hunt, praised us all. I sent messages to my relatives to tell them that I was safe. But it was hard to leave the mountain so quickly. I wanted to enjoy the incredible sight even longer.
The Frog Prince. A lovely princess sat by the pool and played with a sculpture of a bear. Suddenly, she dropped it, and it rolled away. She chased it, but it fell into the water. She began to cry. A large, ugly frog asked, "Why are you crying?" After the princess told him, the frog said, "I can get the sculpture. What will you give me in exchange for the favor?" "I can pay you a fee in gold," she said. But the frog protested. "I want to sleep in your bed, and you must kiss me in the morning." He'd die without water, so I don't have to keep my promise, she thought. The frog dove for a brief moment and got the sculpture. Then the princess ran away with it. Later, the frog went to the palace. The king told her to keep her promise. This put the princess in a bad mood. She permitted the frog to sleep on her pillow. In the morning, she gave him a kiss. Suddenly, he turned into a guy. He said, "I'm from a kingdom abroad. In my youth, I angered a tribe of cruel witches, who turned me into a frog." The princess asked him, "Can I be your bride and stay with you forever?" But the prince said, "No, you disappointed me. You didn't keep your promise."
A beautiful bird. Dr. Norton's occupation was a scholar of biology. He learned about all animals on a daily basis. One day he met a sailor from a colony overseas. The man told Dr. Norton about a talking bird. The bird fascinated Dr. Norton, so he told his colleagues about it. They debated with him. No one thought a bird could talk. He tried to persuade them, but they laughed at him. Nevertheless, Dr. Norton believed the bird was real. His new mission was to find it. He wanted factual proof. The next day he departed for the colony. The sailor he had met told him to look for a man named Jai, who would be able to help him in his search. After a month of sailing, Dr. Norton finally reached the colony where he met Jai. "I can take you to where it lives. It lives by the volcano," Jai said. They left the next day. A week later, they arrived at the volcano. Every day they walked around and looked for the bird, but they couldn't find it. After 1 month, Dr. Norton could not find the bird, and this depressed him. He decided to go home. On the route back, he walked past some old ruins. He heard someone say hello. "Who are you?" he asked. Dr. Norton looked up and saw a bird. Dr. Norton put the talking bird into a cage. Then he returned home. He had made a significant discovery.
Tricky Turtle. Ricky the rabbit and Tara the turtle met by the edge of the river. "No one is capable of beating me in a race," Ricky said. He was confident. His smile conveyed that. "I can beat you," Tara said. Ricky laughed with delight. Tara said, "We will race tomorrow. The destination is the hill." Ricky agreed. Tara concentrated on winning the race. She was not faster than Ricky. She needed a definite way to succeed. She told her family about the race. "I have concluded that I have to resort to something bad. I will cheat." She dictated her instructions to them. At the race, they all wore white feathers. They looked exactly the same. Then her family members hid in shadows on the path. The race began. Tara was soon far behind. However, Tara's brother hid behind a bush in the valley below. When Ricky got close, Tara's brother began to run. He looked just like Tara. Ricky ran as fast as he could along the path. But to him, it seemed like Tara was always ahead. Ricky had used a considerable amount of energy. He reached the top, but Tara's sister was already there. "Well, you win," Ricky said. Later, Tara had a broad smile on her face. Ricky never suspected. He had been tricked by a family of slow turtles.
The Tale of Bartleby O'Boyle. Long ago, there was a clever man by the name of Bartleby O'Boyle. As a boy, he was kept as a slave by the royal family. He saw other children play, but he always had to work. This frustrated him very much, but he was not stupid, and he wanted to change things. Then one day there was a struggle for authority in the kingdom. There was a division of the people, and one group fought against another group to see which would govern the kingdom. There was disorder in the kingdom. Bartleby ran away. He saw much fighting and destruction. Many people had nothing to eat. Bartleby decided to aid them. He would help them get food. But how? Bartleby went to the capital to find an answer. There, he met a man named Gilliam. A group of men attempted to hurt Gilliam. Bartleby defended him. Then he gave Gilliam some food to relieve his hunger. After that, the two became friends. They took food from the rich and gave it to the poor. Soon, other people cooperated with them. Working together enabled them to take more food. But they only took food from people who had plenty, and they always gave it to those who had none. Because of this, Bartleby gained a reputation across the kingdom. Even today, many people admire him for helping the poor.
Blackbeard. A long time ago, I had my first job. It didn't give me much of an income. It was on a giant pirate ship. On my first night, there was a thick fog over the water. A lamp on the ship revealed an enormous man. He had a sword in his belt. His name was Blackbeard, and he was one of the most violent pirates ever. One day, Blackbeard did an extraordinary thing. He attacked several ships near a town. He took some of the town's citizens. Then he declared, "You give me medicine." Blackbeard wanted the medicine for some of the sick pirates on his ship. The people had a bad impression of him. They were mad, and they resisted. But they were trapped. They wanted to get rid of him. So the town's council decided to give him the medicine. After this, there was a reward for catching Blackbeard. If Blackbeard was caught, he would have a trial. He didn't want to go to jail, so he quit being a pirate. Blackbeard became a fisherman, but he ought to have stayed on land. The Royal Navy was still looking for him. They attacked him while he was fishing on his boat. Blackbeard fought against many men. Finally, he was killed. He didn't even get a funeral. But people still tell tales about him many years later.
Dinosaur drawings. It was the worst morning ever. When Carl woke up, he realized that he didn't do his astronomy and chemistry homework. Also, the forecast called for rain, and that would affect baseball practice. Suddenly, his mother yelled, "Take out the garbage right now!" When Carl returned from taking the garbage outside, he was all wet. "What a terrible day," he said. He walked to class. He put his umbrella on the shelf and sat in the third row. But the teacher asked why Carl's umbrella was on the floor. He told her not to blame him, but she sent him to the principal out of spite. Next, he took a geography test. Despite studying, Carl didn't know the answers. He started drawing lightly on his paper. Carl drew a huge dinosaur. What if it were real? He saw it in his mind. Carl's class said he was a genius for having a dinosaur. It could interfere with math class too. Soon, Carl's fame spread through school. He taught his dinosaur to be very gentle and put it on exhibit. But admission would only be given to those classmates who paid him a fee. His idea was super. "It's time to turn in your tests," the teacher said. Carl looked at his paper. As he was dreaming in class, he hadn't finished the test.
The Mean Chef. Once, there was a chef who was mean to his cooks. He was mean to the people who came in to eat. He charged too much for meals. Many people were not able to afford the cheapest bean dish. When his metal oven broke, he did not have it fixed. So everything baked in it burned. The only light was from candles, and the whole place was a mess. Sometimes, he didn't pay his waiters. Since they had no funds, they had many debts. The chef behaved this way all the time. He monitored the cooks and yelled if they did not do things his way. One day, the cooks decided that they were tired of the abuse, and that they would not be passive anymore. Everyone opposed the chef. At first, they thought about suing him. Instead, they tied up the chef with rope. Now they controlled the restaurant. They decreased the price of food. They used the best ingredients and made large quantities of food. They turned on the lights. The restaurant was converted into a happy place. For the first time, many people came to eat. The chef realized that the restaurant's problems were his fault. The chef learned an important lesson. The new generous chef insisted on giving the customers a free meal.
The Cat and the Fox. One day, a cat hiked on a mountain. When he reached the peak, he met a fox. They began talking about how they get away from their enemies. "I am very smart. I have billions of ideas. I can carve a tiny hole in a tree and then climb in," the fox said. He added, "I have a lot of friends. If I am in trouble, I can call them to lend their help. I can escape an entire army if I have to." Then the fox asked, "What are your potential plans?" The cat said, "I have only one plan." The fox said, "I hope you have good fortune then. Do you want me to be your tutor? I can teach you many things." The cat said, "I guarantee that my plan works every time. We can quit talking about it." Soon, they saw a group of wolves. It was an emergency. The cat quickly used her plan. She ran up a tree. The fox could not decide which plan to use. What should my initial move be? Should I consult my friends? The fox felt intense anxiety. All he could do was spin in a circle. The wolves caught the fox. The cat was full of pride. This is proof that having a good plan is better than having many bad plans.
The Good Student. Sue left her dormitory early that morning. She had even washed her uniform the night before. She wanted to look nice for the day. Sue was committed to learning, and she had a talent for getting good grades. In fact, Sue didn't sleep much. She composed a paper and found the perfect thesis about the importance of greenhouses. She also studied for her physics test. Sue was already tired. During the test, she calculated her answers. Soon, she felt sick. Her face got hot, and her vision began to blur. She was blind for a moment. The teacher saw Sue's apparent sickness. He wanted to send her to the nurse, but she wouldn't go. Sue still had a portion of the test to finish. After that, Sue went to the nurse. After seeing the secretary, she waited. A few minutes later, the nurse came in with a glass of juice and told Sue they needed to chat. "It is obvious you have exhausted yourself," the nurse said. "If you keep working so hard, it could have severe results. My parents tell me that all the time. I guess I shouldn't ignore them," Sue said. "You have to remind yourself it is okay to rest," the nurse said. When Sue got back to her room, she went right to bed. She made sure she got enough rest every night after that.
The Lucky Knife. I've devoted my life to studying past generations. Last year, I had a unique chance to work with my uncle. Our job was to find old treasures for a school's history foundation. He also hired a crew of students. They signed a contract to work with him. He was the boss. The place was strange, though. I dined on many things that I had never tasted before. They had an unusual flavor. We had been there about a month and hadn't found anything. One day, I began to dig in the soil. The ground's layers got wetter. Soon, I was digging in the mud. My shovel began to get very heavy. It felt like it had doubled in weight because the ground had absorbed a lot of water. Finally, I saw something in the mud. It was an old knife. The handle felt smooth in my hand. I elevated it so I could see it better. There was writing on it. "It says it will bring good luck," my uncle said with a smile. "Why don't you keep it?" I put it in my tent. The next day, we found many more things. There were pots, jewelry, and weapons. My uncle donated all of the things to a special committee. Many newspapers wrote stories about it. It seemed the knife really did bring good luck.